I'm Shaggy. I am Philalitea. I am still chilling in the tent. What up? Here, I'll give you something to look at while I get busy or while I do other things. Bow, 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 bow. Bow, boom, 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 boo, doo, 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 bow, 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 boom, 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 boom. Bow, 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 bow. Hey, now let me make that more manageable. Nobody ever fucking. I don't know why this is even an option of something I can do. Nobody ever fucking engages with it. But anyway, done with that. La la la. Okay, I don't have anything to say. If I were going to rant, I would just rant about information transmission and the degradation of education and intelligent behavior. But you guys don't like it when I actually, you guys really hate it when I do that. There are a couple of you who like it when I talk about that. But only one of you actually lived that way before you met me. And so I say things that you recognize, only one of you, and he's not here. And I forgot to check in with him this morning. I'm a bad friend. I'm a bad friend. I'm content creator. Sorry, Mr. S. You know I love you, baby. God damn it. There we go. Ugh. I didn't feel like putting the thing in my... I didn't feel like putting the thing in my stand. I don't feel like leaving yet. I'm hurting now, though. Ouch. My injury. Hello, Robux. My pelvis finds a new and horrible way to hurt every fucking day. God damn it. I thought it was done hurting up there. Good morning, W Robux. I may not be the streamer for you, friend. This may not be a friendly place for you. But a place that your parents would approve of you being. Ouch. Fuck. That sucks, man. You need to get out of the tent. I need to make some money. So I can earn my breakfast. A mystic? A mystic. I like the definition that Teofilo F. Ruiz uses for what a mystic is. He says that a mystic is somebody that does battle with the terror of history. And so a mystic is somebody who experiences and engages with the supernormal, the supernatural, but also the paranormal, the things above the realities that you think you know, the supernormal. A mystic is a kind of religious. That's a tick. God, I'm changing my tent tomorrow. It's tick season already. What's up, Charlies? Well, I have multiple extra human intelligences with which I engage. KM. I have a trickster entity. I have a god that I've been devoted to my entire life since about 6 years. Since I was about 6 years old. But the paranormal just means the things above the normal. So if you've got the normal, right? If you have this hierarchy of being, you've got normal things. Anything above the normal abstractly, I can talk about it. Anything above the normal abstractly is the paranormal. So, for example, thinking about the ancestors as coherent intelligences that remain with us, that's a paranormal abstraction. Oh, Isaac, super and para in this sense. So supernatural, paranormal. These things, they're the same thing, same word, effectively. Super and para, that is. The what is that called? Prefix. The prefixes are effectively the same word. They mean the same thing. Now, normal is relative to your perspective, I suppose, Charlie. Charlie bit me. Ow, Charlie, too hard. Overthinking or superstition. Same word. Well, fear is just the body's response to the known unknown. There's plenty to fear. And the word fear actually goes back to the term revere. It actually means to revere or worship. To fear something means to be in awe or reverence of it. And there are plenty of things to fear. One should absolutely fear an electric outlet, for example. One should fear a highway. No, I don't think that you fear what you can't understand, because I've already defined fear as the biological reaction to the known unknown. So you can understand that you don't know what's in that cave and revere the cave. You can know that you won't know when these rocks will fall and fear the falling of the rocks. Treat them with reverence. You don't have to understand what will make the rocks fall in order to fear the rocks falling. I was watching a neopagan, an Irish or Irish or Scots. Yeah, an Irish or Scots neopagan. I'm assuming he was Irish or Scots because he was dressed like a pirate and his face was pierced like a Russian inmate, a Russian prisoner. So he's a person who's had a lot of drugs bring him to where he is in his life. And so he's either an Irish or a Scottish former convict playing neopagan convert, because the pressure to convert to Christianity in Ireland and Scotland when you've lived a life of crime and drugs is intense. And so the cultural argument that drives these very people to crime, to dress like pirates and tattoo their faces and pierce themselves like Russian convicts, is an anti-Christian, anti-English behavior. And so they go, well, fine, I'm just going to be neo-pagan. And so the point is a broad criticism of this guy and that way of life and differentiating myself from it. I haven't lived a life of crime and I'm not tattooed like I believe I spent time in a Russian prison. But I was watching this guy stand under these standing stones, and so they were 3 vertical standing stones and then a slab. You can ask the question, but you already did say so. If you weren't allowed to ask a question, you already broke the rule. So anyway, in a slab of similar stone balanced atop the 3, and he's walking under it like, there's nothing to fear. And it's like, yep, you're doing neo-paganism wrong. The point is that you're supposed to fear the imminent collapse of those stones, that you're walking under there as an unrighteous person could make them collapse. Because you don't fear their collapse, they may. And if enough people don't fear their collapse, you'll erode the ground, you'll erode a path under them, which will ultimately lead to their collapse. So fear that collapse, revere the work that your ancestors did to build it, and stay away from it. Make it sacred. I've lived as an experiential mystic, yes. I continue to live as an experiential mystic, boogity hoo. How do I view the world and humanity's position in it from my body? Unity. Yes, worship and revere the rocks. Fear the rocks. Recognize what the rocks may mean. And thank you, Billy Bolts. I did see what you said. I was just coughing and then I continued to move on. How did I become a mystic? One day at a time. Experience. Curiosity. And you might even say I was chosen for it. For as a preposition. No, I wasn't picked by an alien. If I was picked by a goddess. I look like I'm down on my luck? You gonna fix that, KTB? What does it mean to be a mystic? What it means is that I have experiences that are unlike yours, and those experiences tell me that I am meant to help you with yours. How old do you got to be 1 million? I don't know what that means. I don't spend my money on LGBTQ stuff. Pink, no. Maybe, Darren. Revenge of the Hittites? I don't know Gramercy Park, but the Revenge of the Hittites might mean something to the effect of a rising again of the pre-Bronze Age empire of the Hittites. Who knows? The Hatti people are going to rise again. I don't know. I don't know Gramercy Park. I don't know the song, and I don't know who wrote it. I'm not camping. Yeah, I was dealt a shitty hand. Private park in NYC, huh? It's probably anti-Semitic then. Because the way people in New York City would know the Hittites is as an ancient enemy of the Hebrew people. No, I do not warm the tent up by hitting my vape. It doesn't generate that much friction. Shabbat shalom, Bob. Oh, I don't love to hear that you've got health problems, buddy. You know, I'm doing same shit, different day, buddy. Thanks for being here. I'm also glad I don't have any ancient enemies of which I am aware. I wouldn't say I'm a wizard, no. Other people have called me a wizard, Harry, but I wouldn't. Well, if I have flatulence in my home, it does happen to be in a tent. You fart in a Ziploc bag so you can smell them later, dog art. I don't practice, I don't practice chicken magic, no. Hello, land to home. I don't know who Maddie is. I wouldn't say I'm friendly. HKMP, I'm such a loser because I wouldn't say I'm friendly. Good morning, Matthew. What is the live feed for? I don't know what that means, land. Hello, Owens. If you say so, Job. You don't. Follow Gardner Wicca because it's acceptable counter-Christian rebellion. Like everybody else, dog art, and with serious pain. Sure, Justin. What is the purpose or reason of what? Every day, dog art. I don't know. Probably in the low 40s, Matthew. It was cold earlier. I think AI will take no. AI doesn't want my tent. This feeder discussion is not a full sentence, land to home. I'm sure there are bugs nearby, Nico. I don't know what kind of bird it is. I'm not that guy. Not directionally toward shabby, Matthew. I don't know what that means. Your dad, Justin. I don't think bugs orgasm in that way, Nico. Job, I couldn't stop you if I wanted to. What's the title, Land? And is there a Q&A prompt on your screen right now? What deep in the woods? I don't know what that means. I don't know how to answer what deep in the woods I am. you go R to there? Okay, I know what when did you go means, but R to there is not a cromulent sentence as far as I can tell. I don't know what the verb to subject relationship is there, and I have no idea what your preposition means. That hurts like a motherfucker. Ooh, bitch. Oh, I don't know what that means. EJS. And the more you say it, the less likely I am to do it. I don't identify as such, no, Mari. I wouldn't say that my overall disposition is happy. How deep in the woods? I'm not in the woods at all. I'm in a ravine between a coals and a wooded hill. No, kind of smells like my balls in here, though. No, not in a Walmart parking lot. No, I'm not in Arizona. Philaletea means lover of truth, user. Now time? It is now time. It's now time now, and 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 it's now time now. I could do that for the rest of the show. When did the time right now? You're not Allie or Allie's sister. You're not even literate. No, I'm not rich. I put it in your mom, HKMP. Doesn't everyone? Time is a system of measurement. When do time right now? Okay? I'm sure you can, Alex. Professor, I feel like I am 90% spiked. Have I ever had a dream that I could do anything? No, I have night terrors. I have nightmares. I don't have dreams. If I had $1 million, I definitely wouldn't piss it away, no. I do mind you asking, trucking. I do not have sleep paralysis. Hello, say, I don't know what you have the same, but heard that. How do you know I don't have a six-pack? I'll be 39 at the end of June, Alexi. Nope, never had a driver's license, never been a trucker. With any luck, I won't see 39. No, I'm not a veteran. I've never had a family that loves me, HKMP. I'm not working toward one. If I wanted to work at a meat rendering plant, I would have a job working at a meat rendering plant. Stop saying what? With any luck, when it's working, I'll render it 3 or 4 times a day, Nico. I have not heard of that documentary. I have not watched Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Don't tell me what to do, Scout. How do I make that thing that I have? Did you get that thing I sent you? I have not watched that, JC. Maybe. Yes. 3F. There is just one thing that I must say to you. Did you get that thing? Did you get that thing I sent you? I'm 6'3", Alexi. No, I'm not worried about a Sasquatch. Um, I have, uh, I have the stomping beast to worry about. It may or may not be just a buck. Not yet today. To find the perfect bong? Maybe. I'm still on that quest myself. I had it, and then my fucking ex-girlfriend's sister broke it because she's a bitch. The stomping beast, yes. I'm 6'3" because I drank my milk, Nico. My marital status is divorced. I don't know if she left me for another man or if she left me for the quest for the perfect man. He had a smaller tent, in fact. I don't know what alarm you're talking about, Nico. Is it 10 o'clock? I don't know where my children are. I've thought about it, HK. You want to come here and be my reason? I wouldn't say so, J. Marsh, no. Where's my dog? She took her. I think you see what's going on, Alpha. Huh? It was a offer. I don't know if it's a question whether you've got a Venmo, J. Marsh. No, you cannot sleep in my tent. There's not enough room. I feel like the only part of me that is up is my head, Baker. I do, J. Marsh. I'm glad to hear that for you, HK. If that's what you want to do, Kill. Do I like coffee? Not really. I like flavored creamer. I don't know why you get Venmo. No, my tent does not have Wi-Fi. No, I'm not a Redditor. I only go on Reddit to feel superior to other human beings. If you say so, KB or KTB. If you say so, design. I don't know what my Venmo is. The link is in the description of my channel, J Marsh. Oh, that hurts. Yes, I am the true Mother Superior, Alexi. I don't know, your mom calls me sexy, HKMP. Ugh. Just anywhere, JS. I don't subscribe to anything. I just open it. Scroll through the human garbage. My favorite brand of beer? Favorite brand? I guess is Anheuser-Busch. I really like Busch. Like a lot. Thank you, 3F. Probably log. Yeah, I preferred scotch when I used to drink KTB. That too, JC's, yes. If that's how you feel. I don't know what that means, buddy. Thank you, Otis. Hello, Arabella. How are you? Yeah, this is how I always pictured my life playing out, KTB. I'm charging my phone in the battery bank right here beside it. I still don't know what that means, buddy. Oh, that hurts so fucking bad. I tried to join a Buddhist monastery when I turned 18. But I couldn't get to it. So yeah, this has always been a life goal. I pretty much always saw it playing out this way. I'm sure you could get a tent tour, but I'm pretty sure that tours cost money and have guides, and that those guides get paid money to do the tour. I'm pretty sure there are ticket prices for that kind of shit. You need a smoke and a coffee? Then have a smoke and a coffee. You want a smoke and a pancake? Don't tell me what to do. KTB, you're fucking the richest man in Gotham. I'll nickel and dime whoever the fuck I feel like. A bong and a waffle? That's the move right there. I don't know that sketch well enough to riff on it. I just know they're smoking a pancake because that's such a fun thing to say. If I had it, I'd give it to you, Nikos, but I'd expect tits in return. Actually, I don't even want to see your tits. I want to see you gape your asshole for me. Where's the Blues? I don't know. Tennessee? That's descriptive? Yeah, well, I'm a writer. Nico, that's funny. Bubblegum pink, that's funny. That's the correct answer. That's off to you. Well played. Well played, sir. I don't live off taxpayers, no. Well, I mean, I guess all the people who donate to me are probably paying their taxes, yeah. Ugh. Touche. I agree. KTB. Touche. Nico. Touche. I don't want to go to Mexico. I don't speak the language well enough. And the women down there love my shit. So no. What state am I? Extreme agony. You burnt your bagel and it tasted like coffee? Burning your bagel sounds like... Would you burn your bagel this morning? Sounds like something that you would hear in, like, Queens. What flavor puff? I have cola slush, and this one is called Orange Fucking Fab. You burned your coffee and it tastes like bagels? You got coffee in my bagel. You got bagel in my coffee. Bagel flavored coffee creamer. A little bit of schmear. My girlfriend's Jewish. I'm allowed to make these jokes. She'll wake up and she'll laugh. I've been trying to wake her up for the last 2 hours. Kill the Batman. You want to meet her? She's gonna get mad at me for calling her my girlfriend. Allow yourself to introduce yourself. Yeah, go for it, buddy. I didn't think you needed any introduction. A man whose reputation does not precede him. My sister? No. No, my hand didn't fall asleep. My hand has been asking me for roses lately. I don't identify as homeless, no. KO. What's up, Bathy? Oh, there it was. Oh. Oh. Fuck. I am too tall for the way I live. I was too tall when I was 6 foot. Oh. RSO, I just smoke a lot of weed. I have a home. This is my home. That spider disagrees, but this is my home. I don't need to go to a magician. No, thank you. Oh, I don't know what RSO stands for. Does it stand for really sick orgasm? Because I had one last night. I wouldn't call it a small, breathable mansion. It has a view, though. Well, how do you define home, KO? The best Final Fantasy? That's subjective. The best Final Fantasy is 10. My favorite is 6. I'm thinking about going and getting a bigger one tomorrow. Home is where the bed is. I don't have any neighbors, no. Well, I mean, there is a house on the other side of that hill, and there's a housing community on the other side of that parking lot. But no, there's nobody else that lives in this ravine with me. Okay, well, nobody else would define that as a home, historically, KO. Charge my phone the same way everybody else does, Blink Shooter. How do you think, Dope? I don't want a car. I don't panhandle ever. I don't know what RSO stands for, Matthew. I can, KO. You currently can see what you can see, KO. So if you can see the view, you can see it by means that I can't provide. I don't know what that means, 3F. No, I don't do odd jobs for people. I'm not going to do that, Nico. I don't know what that means, Matthew. I don't know how the hell I would get Rick Sampson oil. That sounds like a villain in a comic book. I'm sure I can. Let's talk cheese pizza if that's what you want to talk, Ghost. Go for it. You begin. No, you're kind of not being kind. You're kind of being invasive, KO. What am I doing right now? Kill the Batman. Hello, Patricia. How are you? Beef jerky. That's not cheese pizza. You making tacos tonight? That sounds fun. Do you make your own seasoning? Good morning, Patricia. I don't know whether you are able, KO. Were I at? Okay, I'm not with you, Ghost, but I'm reading everything you're saying. Heard that, Hollow Knight. The most invasive question I'm asked. People ask me to see my dick all the time. Where am I from? I don't identify as, well, I identify as from North Carolina. I don't identify as a good person. Pray about. Do I seem not at peace right now, Dope? Yes, I live here. Yes, I'm Chinese, Sir Wellington. No, I do not, Batman. It's whatever. I subjected myself to it. It's not like I didn't know this was going to happen. Pray about. Religious, yes, Hollow Knight. I live in this tent, not just a tent. The tent. You guys, I don't remember what that's called, the difference in the A and the there, but this is the tent. This is the tent that I live in, not just a random tent. This is the tent. I don't know what that is, but it has like wolf in it or dog or something. Rick, I don't know what that is. Take care, Matthew. No, I'm not Christian, KO. My zodiac sign? Cancer. I don't identify as homeless, no, Patricia. I don't know what you're asking anymore, Hollow. It's not on screen anymore. I can't drink beer anymore, Batman. It dehydrates me and makes my injury hurt. Woo. The tent, correct. Put some respect on the tent. It got me here. Breakfast today is going to be the double burger like it is every day. Everybody needs money, Lalo. No, I'm not Muslim. It's my vision. Bad. Hello, Mr. Ian. Hello, Ewalis. Good morning, crap. Weather's great. I'm in Ohio. My nickname? I don't know. Do I need anything? Breakfast money. Tent? It's Ozark Trail. Okay, pray about. You could make that happen if you wanted. Hi, Ian. My dad used to say wish in one hand, hope in one hand. Like wish, want, hope, dream, desire in one hand, and shit in the other, and see which one fills up faster. I'm smoking a little bit of Delta 9, Delta 8 THC, the legal stuff, the synthetic. What do I like to do? Spend time with naked women. No, I don't want to have a sword fight. I said spend time with naked women. The birds do sound nice. Thank you, Patricia. If that's how you feel, then why? I don't know what that means, Hollow Knight. Maybe, Orko. Look, everybody, it's the Orko Man. I like this one, Mr. N.A. I'm nervous about going to a different brand. I've heard that one before, SM. I feel like if my dad hit me anymore, I'd probably be dead right now. Hello, Hollow Knight. If you say so, Patricia. I'm glad to hear that for you, Nolan. You're getting hungry for breakfast? Heard that. With a toothbrush, toothpaste, etc. Knight. Self! I wish you'd stop calling me your boy. I'm just not your garçon. But the plan is to do this until breakfast, same as every day. I don't pay property taxes. I don't own land. Please don't call me that fucking douchebag. I'm sure you can get a tour of the outside, Mr. N.E., but like I keep saying, tours often come with ticket prices, and those guides that give them are paid. So, not for free you can't. Yeah, I stink, Orko. I smell bad. I gotta get a new shirt. I gotta get new shirts. Plural. What's for breakfast? The double burger I get every day. Earth is not the same shape as my tent. If that's what you want to do, Mr. N.E. There are people outside my tent all the time. What if the question was rude, Mr. N.E.? And then I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree, Hollow Knight. Thank you, Jippa. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, Jackie. Yeah, I planned for the future, Eric. What are you doing for your future? My relationship with what? I don't have a relationship with my parents. I don't have neighbors. Not in the truest sense, not in the sense you mean. Good day, Chippa. Thank you. Well, now we no longer disagree, Hollow Knight, so where are we at? When did I first experiment with hard drugs? I've never done hard drugs. Unless you mean acid. I wouldn't consider acid a hard drug. If I believe in our Lord and Savior, I'll always be okay? Okay. I don't follow a specific system, no. And I don't know what an enlightenment practice is. I'm an experiential mystic. I'm not a student. Ten is cold. I dropped acid every other weekend for a year and a half, so I've dropped maybe 50 tabs. Ohio, Leo Bain. Hollow Knight, in one of the Kabbalistic systems, God is defined as the cold that creeps. My favorite flavor of acid? I don't know. Probably phosphoric, because that's what makes Coke taste so good, is the phosphoric acid. Drugs are bad. I don't use Kabbalah, no, but I have studied Kabbalah, yes. I've read the Sefer Yetzirah, and I've studied other Kabbalistic schools. It's I don't know these fucking names. I don't practice saying these names. I know his name. It'll come to me when I don't need it anymore. The author, in the name of the sacred, not the lesser sacred name of God that means the cold that creeps. Yes, Callum. I do stink. The worst part of acid, the grinding teeth and the sweats and the come down. I do like metal, Roxy, yes. Zoinks. I prefer Jinkies. What is this? Curious. Our practice is different in that I don't use ceremony or ritual. I practice something much more like natural or chaotic magic from your perspective. My favorite band is in flux right now because my favorite bands, plural, are both in lineup turmoil. So my favorite band, it used to be easy, I just say Catatonia, but Anders left, and so it's not Catatonia anymore. And then it would have been my backup would have been Mastodon, but Brent died before Catatonia, before Anders officially left. So just my favorite is in turmoil right now. It's basically Metallica, which fucks me up. LSD makes your back hurt. I like acid sludge. Oh, I just didn't like it ending. I did it differently than you guys. I didn't have visuals. I mostly wrote, and then I would go for long walks and sing. My net worth, like right now, is about $300. I never had next day back pain. But like I said, I would go for long walks, and I would get up and I would be active, and I would do really, really deep yoga stretches. Yeah, I took acid for the spiritual and emotional experiences. Heard that, Roxy. And it's probably to do with the LSD it contracts the muscles of your pelvis. And so it's contracting the muscles of your pelvis, which are pulling and straining on the muscles of your lower back. So you're sitting there in a cramped position because you're, like I said, you're not up and walking and moving your body and doing deep poses and stretching and dancing. And so your pelvis is just in this extended 12-hour cramp. And so when that finally lets up, yeah, your back is going to hurt. No, I will not be going to Coachella. The drug is having a physiological effect. No, I'm not having a good trip. Hello, TK. I'm sorry, TJ. Well, no, I'm not tripping acid right now. Yoga was designed to arrive at the same places as LSD. Yoga means something effectively like torture. The point behind the yoga practices was to torture the body as an act of sacrificial suffering toward your karma. Yeah, it means to yoke oneself. To yoke oneself to the suffering, and so it's supposed to hurt. And the idea is that the pain and all of the pain, the pain inhibiting chemicals that will flood your brain over holding that pose for 12 hours. The pain inhibiting chemicals flood the brain and turn off the consciousness. They put you in a near death state, which provides for all of the physical and brain apparatus of LSA. I am doing something. I'm correcting misinformation about the psychedelic state to active users. And no, my idea of success isn't the same as yours. If I'm able to get one active user to have the correct experience with the drug, then I am successful. Well, yeah, because they're not an psychedelics are not a recreational pharmacon. Well, reflecting on anything at any time will make you realize a lot. The drug just makes it difficult for you to not reflect. I've never done method 1. Well, psychedelics were never the key, Callum. I can't disable, Joey. I've been smoking weed this whole time. Just hang around, pigeon. Well, you never needed them, Callum. I love my life, Leo. My life led to this. Good morning, Morgan. That's really not something that I would share, Tim. Most interesting thing I figured out on psychedelics? That Elliott Smith wrote in harmonies that nobody else was writing in. I don't know. I didn't do acid in the way that you think I did. In a way, we're talking about my idiosyncratic approach to intellectual and spiritual life, Morgan. The revelations that you guys want me to tell you that I arrived at with LSD, I didn't arrive at with the LSD. I arrived at them by approaching my life with the openness that I had achieved during the LSD state. I just took what I was able to achieve in that state and I just prolonged it into my life. I fucking hate the guy, but you guys are probably familiar with Jordan Peterson and his work on talking about trait openness. I just remained trait open. Not a bed bug, pigeon, no. No, I was already enlightened by the time I was in high school, Callum. I used to instead of sleeping. When I read in a D&D manual in 8th grade that the elves did not sleep, they meditated, they went into a trance state. I tried that, and I achieved that for 3 years of high school. I sat in a position just like this, and that's how I did my sleep periods, was in the lotus position with my hands on my knees in a trance state, and then I would wake up. Or because my mother would come into my room to wake me up, I would just lay flat in a funerary position, and I would sleep like that. Yeah, I would sleep like that. It depends on what you mean by better, Morgan. It depends on what you mean by better. Here, just do you guys know Soundgarden? You know that song, The Day I Tried to Live? When I stopped doing those things, my life got infinitely worse. But you would say that my life was better. You would say you had the job, you had the wife, you had the house, you had the girlfriend, you had it all. And I would say, yeah, but none of it fulfilled me spiritually, artistically. Yeah, sleep is the most important thing a human needs, a wise man. That's why I talk about whether I do or do not have good nights of sleep. It's not so much that I wasn't free, but no, I wasn't free. I wasn't allowed to work on the art that was in me to be worked on. Well, it depends on your definition of outside us, Callum. Because I am fulfilled if you have a better relationship with your pharmacon. Again, I wouldn't call it inhabiting creative spirits, maybe channeling creative spirits, but creative is a word I don't use. Expressive. Channeling expressive spirits, fine. Hello, Cricket. Look, I'm not worried about an argument that came from Richard Nixon. If you guys know where the "get a job, hippie" came from, that comes from the Nixon campaign. I'm just really not worried about what Nixon thinks of me. Anybody called Tricky Dick, I'm just not worried about their campaign. Don't give a fuck. No, it didn't make a better life for me. I sacrificed years of my life and about 100,000 of my dollars for nothing. Nothing to show for it. Sure, Callum, but I'm working. You said you don't work currently. I'm working right now. We're not the same. I'm in the eastern part of the Midwest. I'm in the Louisiana Purchase. I'm having a good morning, Orel. It is what it is. I have $3 I didn't have yesterday. Well, sure, but you said I'm not working. I am working. We're different. Well, Morgan, I appreciate that in as much as one can appreciate a platitude, but you got to understand, we're different people. My dad told me that you can wish and want and desire and hope, all those things in one hand, and take a big fat dump in the other. Which one's going to fill up faster? Which one's going to make my life worse faster? I didn't say this was a job. I didn't say I'm jobbing. I said I'm working. I don't have friends, David. Well, I know, but you're comparing yourself to me, Callum. You said 2. You're including yourself in what I'm doing. I can, pigeon butt. An experiential mystic is a mystic that arrived at their mysticism experientially, Tommy. No, pigeon. Don't tell me what to do, Edward. I wouldn't, Callum, but thank you for letting me know. Okay. Happiness is a fleeting emotion, but thank you, Morgan. I seem to be just fine, Anthony. I'm as upright as I can be, Mr. Tahoe. It means lover of truth, manifestor. I spell it wrong, though. It's actually philale. Philaletes. Philaletes. Phillethes is actually the correct Greek. That's why you don't know mine. Philaletes. That's what the Gnostic authors called themselves. No, not all mystics arrive through their experience, or that their mysticism experientially. That's incorrect. There are ritual and ceremonial mystics who are taught by a manual. Not pursuer, no, lover. Correct. Phil. I'm just going to call you Phil for now. This is moving really quick. That Phil, lover, is actually a very loose translation. That's what I was trying to see. You're into Hermes Trismegistus? One of my very favorite books, Tommy Destiny, is the Poimandres, Man Shepherd. But what was I saying to you? Phil, the brother is lover is a bad translation, actually. Phil actually means friend, but it's that deeper friend that Aristotle was trying to define when he was categorizing friendships. And so we just call it a lover because of the shorthand of the Phaedrus, where Plato is arguing these three perspectives on lovers. Yeah, hidden history is what I'm here to talk about, Manifester. I just got to get more people that know about it or have questions or an interest. So hang out. I talk about it while I play video games. I'm talking about it all the time. It's just not something that you cannot bring up apropos of nothing because you'll spend your whole life explaining things to glazed over eyes. Yes, I'm a wealth of knowledge. I've been deep in the shit for 20 years trying to understand it. I do have an aversion to society. Yes, Callum. You remember that thing about freedom? If you're sitting down across from me at a table, I can't just get up and be done with this conversation. I'm not going to do that, Manny, but you have a good day. Correct, Callum. Well, sure, Tommy, that's a little bit of a... It's a little bit of a P.T. Barnum version of history, though. If you want to talk about that stuff, we can talk about that stuff, but I'm going to go a lot deeper than that as soon as you bring it up. Anthony, my granddad used to say that people got more dollars than cents. I don't know that. I don't know that word, Manny. I am American, Ami. My ideals on freedom, RL? I don't know if it's an ideal, it was an abstraction. It was a metaphor, or maybe an analogy. Yes, an in-person experience would be unpleasant for me. No, I've not bought a house on a dam, no. Okay, Tommy. Yeah, I grew up in the same part of the world as Rhett and Link, Blade. Rhett actually had these exact glasses for a season. Not Rhett, Link. Link wore these exact glasses for a season. I grew up in the same part of the world as them. Same part of North Carolina. I always thought I was going to be an electrical engineer. Or a mechanical engineer, rather. I always thought I was going to be an engineer of some sort. I grew up in the same part of the world they did. I'm only 7 or 8 years younger, maybe a full decade. Thank you, bye. This is what I do for a living, Don. North Carolina is beautiful and the people are great, but the politics are bullshit. Cummins Beaumont? No, I don't know that name. Manifester. It is kind of passe to talk about watching somebody else's content where the current content creator can see it, guys. I am making money off this. I've made $3 so far. This isn't monetized. That's why you're not watching ads. I don't monetize my tent time. I know, Manny, but you should know that it's passe. It should be beneath your dignity as a person being respectful of the environment in which you reside currently. You should know better. If you're going to be a public speaker, you wouldn't want someone to do it to you. That's kind of breaking the golden rules. If you're going to stand up and say, hey, I'm a person that you should emulate and listen to, you should probably also be a person that they can emulate and listen to. If you're going to manifest something, why don't you manifest politeness and civilization as the rules have been dictated for the last 400 or, I don't know, 900 years. If you want to roll all the way back to the rules of polite society as they were in China, Rome, and Persia 2,000 years ago, we can talk about these are rules that everybody has known for 5,000 years. No, I do not own a firearm. They're not baby wipes. They're baking soda. They're Arm & Hammer baking soda wipes. I'm cleaning in the same way that they cleaned on the Oregon Trail. And it works. It's deodorizing. The baking soda kills the bacteria that create odor. The worst problem that I have is that I'm allergic to the oils in my hair and dandruff. Otherwise, as you can see, my hair is incredibly healthy, as is my scalp, so long as I remember to wash it regularly with baking soda. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Tommy. Welcome aboard. I'll be looking forward to watching that star change with you while I live inside this tent. My teeth are too fucked up to either model or act. Yeah, I'm intense because I've actually done the thing, Callum. Thank you, Tommy. I'm glad to hear that, Arabella. We can talk about it. I've read Plato for the channel. When I talk about things like you should know them, like the Phaedrus, for example, it's because I've read it for the channel. You could see what I know and what I think about it by just scrolling through my work from the last 2 years. And no, my titles fucking suck on purpose to force you to just watch it. Yes. Thank you, Tommy. I appreciate everything you're doing right now. Hey, I'm glad to hear you're doing what you got to do, Stoffel. Neither, heavy. I get live on my phone, Q5. Neither, heavy. My divorce was 2016, I think is when that finalized. Yes, I live in this tent by choice. It's really not multiple tents, it's just the one tent. The one world order isn't a real thing. Willpower, you have to want to not do it. You have to just want to not do it. So like when I've quit cigarettes, um I just reminded myself that I didn't want it. Every time I thought, ooh, I want a cigarette, I'm like, no, you don't. And the most important thing is to have someone that you can tell, man, I want a cigarette. And they'll go, no, you don't. Every time you want a cigarette. And they won't give you shit about it. Yes, Stoffel. Intelligence and competence are not actually survival traits anymore. I'm not sure what you want me to elaborate. Oh, elaborate on the New World Order? It just doesn't exist. My feelings on modern society that we have more dollars than sense, that we're rude, and that we treat everyone like they're our slave. I have sleeping bags, Tommy. I have sleeping bags, and I leveled this hill with the clay from the hill. It's actually remarkably comfortable out here. It's shaped to my body. You have to want it, and you have to have somebody. You have to have backup plans for when you don't have the willpower to say no. Yeah, alcohol too. Yeah, I've written a lot, RL. You can find my literature on my Patreon. That's what it's for. It's not that I don't have thoughts, it's that I've already spoken those thoughts at the beginning of this. If you want to see my thoughts on that stuff, just watch my long form work at the beginning of the channel, Don. And look at some of the stuff that I said last week. I think I did a live last week called Grinding My Gears, where I talked about the Epstein stuff. It can be your first time here, Scott. I'm telling you that there's a wealth of metamaterial. I'm just talking to everybody that passes through synthetic. And right now I'm just talking about the wealth of metamaterial that I have behind me. It's spring, dudes. It hits. What time is it? Is it 11? Yep, it hits 11 o'clock and that sun, bam, warm in here. God, I'm a fucking genius. It was cold as shit. Annoyingly cold, I should say. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't frozen or anything. It was just annoyingly cold. And now I want air to move through my tent. This is good news. Good news. Happy times. There's either a bird or a small critter moving around outside my tent. Boom. Did I lose you guys? Did the chat break on me? It does this sometimes. Yeah, the chat broke. Give me a second. Let me scroll back up. No, Callum. I think that what we do is it doesn't create a tulpa. I think that what we do is we orient ourselves and our ritual behaviors toward the drug. And so we just make it an idol or a god in the ancient sense. Well, Stoffel, sometimes it requires a near-death experience in order to make major changes in the brain. I believe so, Morgan. Re-blessed. Yes. Thank you, RL. Fetish. Yeah. Yeah, Tommy, absolutely. I have received information that I know has no veracity, and so I've had to develop skills and knowledge to be able to talk. Trauma can make or break you. Trauma is the breaking, and the healing is the making back. Trauma is the breaking. Think about it. When you're watching Law and Order, and you're watching the autopsy, and they say, "How did he die?" And they go, "He died by moida." And they go, "Okay, but we need more than moida." And he goes, "Oh, he died by blunt force trauma." Trauma is the breaking. No, I didn't use wool this year. What's Morgan doing wrong? Oh. Let Morgan live her life. You're both right. It's too wet in this environment for wool. Hi, Voidrun. The conversation had become about a troll, so the troll gets to go. I look cast away? Yeah, I feel cast away. Yeah, Tommy, right now I'm calm. Yes, Ohio is very damp. Hi, Leo Bane. No, I'm not camping, Voidrun. Humid, yes. I can, RX, see what you're saying. I have to sleep with my phone in my sleeping bag, or I'll wake up with the all the ports soaking wet. Huh? No, the weather's going to be in the 70s all week. Small island in Britain? That's cool, Callum. I don't identify as homeless, but you would call me that, RX. My opinions re British politics right now are that the Cornish people deserve a prince. They deserve recognition as a kingdom. The Welsh people deserve more than a backhanded compliment, a backhanded recognition as a kingdom. And the Scots and Irish people need to be their own kingdoms. They need to be their own peoples, and that the English need to give back all of that farmland to the Welsh and the Scottish. That's what I think. But my ancestors are French Norman, so I'm just not gonna like those people. Yeah, I do know my history, Callum. Yeah. King Arthur was my first great love. And so I don't even like calling Wales Wales. It's Cymru. Correct. Correct. My ancestors set up the infrastructure that the current English throne uses to rule these people and flip the bird at my ancestors. And so it upsets me. The idols of the king. Yeah, for sure. I don't know all these words. Don't hold me too high. I am still an American. That is, I'm sure it is weird, Callum. Uh, yeah, you almost had it. Cymri, Kumri. That's the name of those people. That's what they call themselves. Kumrik is the name of their language, and Kumrig is the plural, I believe. The king is not. Yeah, that. Yeah, you don't even want to get me started as an American. You don't want to get me started on that whole system. You don't want to get me started. The House of Lords is upsetting. Yeah, Kumri is the language. As an American, I'm Kumruga. And then I grew up in North Carolina, so I have a different opinion about the Confederacy and the Confederate flag than most as well, Mike. I'm not in Iran, no. You don't like playing Baldroid? That's funny. Sorry, that made me laugh. I don't really know what it means, but it made me laugh. You're a legacy? That's correct, Voidrun. Yeah. That's why I'm constantly arguing with people about the way we eat today. It's very classist. Yeah. It comes with a lot of class assumptions. The Confederacy gets a lot of hate over the pond because they were anti-British. They I want to say they weren't even real friendly with the French. They were probably friendly with the wrong people. I don't know. I don't know that. No, no. Slave ownership was ubiquitous. You couldn't have money and not own slaves. It was actually considered a social good. It was hated late. It was hated late, but we did slave ownership differently. Um, High-minded people were expected to buy slaves and put them to high quality work and promote them within their intellectual communities. Um, it was a form of patronage, and we don't talk about it because it looks good when you think about the fact that the reason that Thomas Jefferson owned slaves, for example, and he owned this black woman that he put babies in, and those babies arrived at Barack Obama. The reason all of that happened is he actually elevated her from poverty, and he put a baby in her so that she had status as a woman, and that baby had a future as a free person. I don't have a job, no. I don't know what John Brown is. No, I don't drive. No, but I married a historian. Plantation slavery was horrible, but house slavery wasn't. Watch. Okay, so if you really want to know, the difference, Malcolm X did a whole speech on this, the difference in the house slave and the field slave. Well, you could sell yourself into slavery then. You can sell yourself into slavery now. It's called jobbing. You sell yourself into debt slavery. It's called taking a credit card. It's the same thing. It's the same economy. Yes, it's worth the full speech, Callum. The full speech is very powerful and historically grounded. Well, the Irish existed. That the N word that we use today, it was relegated to two people: people of black skin color and the Irish. You're given the illusion of freedom because you get to choose to whom you sell yourself into slavery. Correct, Callum. Yeah, that choice, it's called free will sacrifice. It's just, guys, it's just the Viking economy writ large. Nothing has really changed. No, that's a much more recent um, adaptation. RX. I'm sure you can, Brandon. I do not, Penguin. No. Yeah, the N word was reserved for two people, Irish and people of black skin color. Correct. Oh, it's okay, Tommy. The more trolls there are, the more people are going to get brought here. The more the conversation is going to look like it's moving. The more people are going to remain. The more people get to hear that the things that they've been taught are only half true. And so my work as Philaletea is to say, okay, yeah, but there's this other half true part that's ugly and it hurts me, but it's also true. Thank you, user. I like your hair. Is that your hair or is that a pop star that you like? Yeah, the no Irish people apply. I actually made a short about that a couple weeks ago, Callum. That's a very real thing. The no Irish apply. I saw a sketch, probably from a UK TV show, where Irish guys were riffing on that, and it was hilarious and very real and very true. A synapsis? I think you mean a synopsis, like with an O. A synapsis is kind of like what's going on in your brain. A synopsis of my channel is what you're seeing right now. Building home. In fact, I just said it, probably while you were typing that. Philaletea means lover of truth, and it means that when you're told that's triple X temptation, that's bad, but whatever. Cool hair. Trying to be nice to somebody who gave me $1. You read the channel description? What does that mean? I actually just spent a month reading about Neanderthal and Homo erectus stuff, RX. So what do you want to know? I don't know what you already know about Neanderthal. I don't know, a couple of hours, Brandon. Not that long. It took longer to level the hill. Okay, thank you, Cam. The artist is deplorable, but the person gave me $1, and I was trying to give them a compliment. I like reading Plato. I don't think I like the man, but I like reading Plato. Okay, so in large part, what makes us Homo sapiens? Hey, Rachy Rach, you missed me washing my hair. Anyway, I am not a philosopher. I'm Philaletes, which is a higher order abstraction. It's a tighter binding than lover of wisdom. No, he's a pederast, guys. He does sex times to people under the age of 18. Um, Give me a second here. Just let me, I'm going to pause the chat for a second and meditate. He asked me a good question. I've made $9 today. I can answer a good question because I have recency bias in the information. What makes Homo sapiens different from chimpanzees is it starts at Lucy. It starts at the Australopithecines, something like 2.5 million years ago. 3 million years ago, we were indistinguishable from chimpanzees. Something like that. 2.5 million years ago, we were this kind of thing that kind of looks like a chimpanzee, but it did things differently than chimpanzees. Chimpanzees have a fairly complex and organized social structure where typically they break up into different kinds of groups where you have all female groups, and those female groups remain together, and then individuals from that will pair off with individual males. And this is how they live. So like fraternities that break off with, like university. Think about it, fraternities, they meet individual dudes, they break off from the fraternity, they have a family. If that guy dies, she returns to the fraternity and the baby is raised, the sorority, I'm saying the wrong gender. Sorority. It's like a sorority, out, male dies, come back, child is raised in the sorority. If it's a male, at a certain point it has to leave. Whatever. The other way, another way that it works, is that you'll have groups of males that group together, and they'll be mid-sized males, and they just mostly mind their own business, and they look for sex where they can get it, and they find food as they can. Another way that they live together, that chimps live, is they'll have a great, big, very aggressive male who will have smaller males who give him sexual favors, and lots of females that live on the outside of the perimeter that seek him for pregnancy and protection. Humans are similar because we came from a similar situation, but they do this in trees. They do this in the canopies of trees. Australopithecines lived on the ground near lightly wooded areas along the sides of rivers. And what Australopithecines did is they had these anvil stones that were about this big, about the size of a football. They took these stones, I think they were quartz. They took these stones from a place away from where they were, and they carried them like this, because they're about chimpanzee size. So if you've ever watched a toddler lug around about something football sized and maybe 30 pounds, this is how they lived. They lived carrying this thing like this, and their hips and their shoulder structures allowed for that. And if you look at them, they weren't dragging their knuckles on the ground. They were carrying stuff. And if you look at them, they have the hips and the back architecture of a T-Rex. And so the reason that T-Rexes are shaped the way they are, and the reason they don't have arms, is because they're not a thinking creature. Okay, they're not a mammal. They're a reptile, or whatever they are. They're a dinosaur broadly. Okay, and so when they go to eat something on the ground, and they've got their arms on it, they might bite their own arms off, or definitely others of them will. So they just have these tiny little useless little blah, 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 arms. Well, humans have these very complex tree climbing arms. And so we know how to keep them in. And so the way we kept them in to counterbalance ourselves from all that weight, we don't have that huge T-Rex head and jaw. We had this 30-pound rock that we would lug around. And then we would bring it to these rivers. And now science is going to tell you that we don't know what we were doing with it. But definitely what we were doing with it was busting bones for the marrow on the rock, because that's what we sucked up for the next 2 million years to arrive at Homo sapiens, was the marrow. We were eating that marrow. We needed it. Predators need that marrow. That's why T-Rexes have those huge jaws, is to break the marrow. That's why hyena are designed the way they are. You need that marrow. Humans need that marrow. We don't need the meat wrapped around it. We wanted the marrow. And so we were probably getting fish that we could lunge down and carry back, put on these stones, and bust open with these fucking rocks. That gave us mastery over rocks that arrived us at Homo erectus, where instead of on our bellies, we're carrying these rocks, or just backpacks of shit on our backs. That's how we arrived at Homo erectus, at all of this pelvic and back structure necessarily for me to carry my backpack. We arrived at all of that carrying these working stones that we were carrying around at Homo erectus. And then by Homo heidelbergensis, I don't know these timelines anymore, so we're at about 1 million years ago. By Homo heidelbergensis, what we were doing was we had shrunk all of these technologies, no longer huge relative to our body mass, huge working stones, anvil stones. We're now working in highly specific tool stones. Highly specific tool stones. They call them a particular Acheulean hand axes. They're working in these very specific hand axes all across the planet. It is a ubiquitous technology. And so they've gone from developing the muscle structures just necessarily to build these things to the hand structures necessary to build these things. Now we arrive at Neanderthal. Your question is, how did Homo sapiens arrive at Homo sapiens from chimps? And the answer is that Homo erectus and heidelbergensis, they diverged wildly because of ice ages. They diverged into these different cousin species like Neanderthal, we call them the hobbits, but they're Floriensis, Homo floriensis, and then Denisovans. We have a knuckle bone of Denisovans, and then there's evidence in our DNA of a mystery Homo species that we haven't found. But Homo heidelbergensis diverges into all of these different branches, and one of them is Homo sapiens. And it goes back to Africa, and it goes back to that niche. By this time, I said the whole planet, right? By Erectus, we were leaving Africa. We leave Africa, we come back, we leave, we come back. By heidelbergensis, we're all over the planet. And that leads to these different pocket speciations because of an extended ice age period. It went from regular ice ages of every 40,000 years, you have a hot period, then a cold period, then a hot period, then a cold period, to like 250,000 year periods or something like that. It changed. The ecology of the planet changed, and with it the Homo species diverged, because Homo sapiens went back to Africa where it didn't freeze, and we were able to live in those niches that we lived in as Australopithecines, as Homo sapiens. And it made us docile, and it made us good tool users, and it made us good problem solvers. Okay? Our other cousin species were very good at other things. And so you want to know, how did we arrive at us with these sensitive hands and these really good eyes and our good spatial awareness and art? And the answer is very deliberate interbreeding with Neanderthals for about 15 to 20,000 years that ended at the erasure or the extinction of the Neanderthals about 11,000 years ago, between 11 and 15,000 years ago. That's the short answer. The archaeology shows that all of those cave painting and all of those abstract art sites are actually Neanderthal. We bought their goods, traded for their goods, but we did not make their goods. But after they were gone, we started to replicate their goods, and we did something that they didn't do. We started telling stories. We started telling narrative stories with a beginning, an end, and a moral. That started to happen after there were no other humans around. And so the question of why did it take so long to build things, and why did language take so long to complexify, is because it didn't begin until we were the only people left after that ice age about 13,000 years ago. Fiddly in the dates, but that's the answer. That's the real answer, as best as I can piece it together from listening to a lot of this research from a lot of different researchers. Those seem to be the true answers. Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle. Aristotle didn't know Socrates, so it's not really a trio. It took me 39 years building a home to be the person I am today. Extentacion wasn't a pedophile, he was a pederast. And he was convicted of doing sex times with girls who were as young as 13. Yes, chimps behave very much like humans. If you watch them and you realize, and you step back and you think humans are just a mammal. Highest percentage Neanderthal DNA is Central Europeans at about 15%, I think. I'm doing a podcast right now, RX. Biogenesis, Philaletea means lover of truth. Thank you, building a home, for help for telling him. It is abstract. No, dinosaurs lack the apparatus to think. I'm in a tent because I can't do this with a 9 to 5. And thank you, Tommy. Yeah, thank you for asking it, RX. Yes, I am talking about my history. Ghost DNA, for sure, Tommy. When I say very specific genetic interbreeding, humans did not have these delicate fingers. Humans didn't have good art making fingers. We didn't have good fine detail stone napping fingers. Neanderthal did. We didn't have good eyes that were able to see abstractly. Neanderthal did. What we had was spatial relations. Our brains were very good at spatial relations and pattern recognition. And so you take 15% from the DNA of the Neanderthal and interbreeding. You specifically interbreed for the Neanderthal who have fine, delicate fingers and good eyes. And you make enough kids that have those fine, delicate fingers and good eyes. You put them at the top of your human society. You make them get all the girls pregnant, and boom, you arrive at the Bronze Age. I would never use Latin that I know you don't know if it's not a term of art. I promise. Chicken strips, double, because I don't like the texture of chicken nuggets. I agree with you, Biogenesis. You are entitled to nothing that you didn't build with your own hands. Well, the reason it sounds so mystical is because a lot of the information that we have was arrived via mysticism. Thank you, Scott. Well, okay, so I'm working within a perfectly traditional and perfectly legitimate philosophical and intellectual tradition. The last philosopher or human being that I'm aware of that worked in this tradition was I was hoping I'd get his name. He wrote Walden. All I've got is F. Scott Fitzgerald, and that's wrong. He wrote Walden. Um, it's gone. It's gone. I don't remember his name. But in Walden, Thoreau, thank you, Henry David Thoreau. Thank you. Fuck. All I had was 3 names, and I was never going to get there. Thank you. In Walden, Henry David Thoreau, I read it. I read Walden well, the first month I was here in the tent. And a lot of the book, a stupid amount of the book, and a boring amount of the book is actually about his finances. And then the rest of the book is him just relating conversations that he had with people who came to visit him. Like, why do you live like this? I live like this because I want to. And then they end up in these kinds of conversations that we're having right now. And then they would leave him $5 on the table, like, here, buy a sandwich. Thanks, man, for the cool conversation. I'm working in a perfectly legitimate intellectual tradition. I am allowed to do this. And yeah, the idea is that you come through and you go, oh, homeless guy can't know anything. And it's like, I chose homelessness so I could check and double check and check and double check and check and double check and read these books with the sensitivity and the slowness, the meditative pace that they were written with. It's like Rachel always tells me that when she sits down to read this stuff that I read, it's just gobbledygook. It doesn't stick to her brain. But when I read it, because I read it so slowly, it allows it to stick in her brain. Bartering with knowledge is totally legit. It is totally legit. And any time before the 1980s and credit cards. Totally legit. I am not asking any of you to give me anything. It was a good question that I wanted to answer. And in the process, I did make $5, which is heartwarming, and thank you. Yeah, well, the thing is, homeless people, right? We arrive here oftentimes through what we would perceive as tragedy. But while we're here, we have nothing to do but be bored. I used to sit in the it's called Christ's Table, but it's a like a kitchen, right? Like a cafeteria for they just serve for free for 3 hours a day at lunch or whatever. So a food line or whatever. And I used to go in there and put my headphones in my ears, but not put anything on, and just listen to the conversations. Because there are people 65% of the way to coming to the realization that's going to set them free, and they won't do that last 35%. They just won't do it. And I get it. I get it. I do. Hey, Rachie. I thought when the first day that I went into the Christ table, I thought that what I was going to see was a lot of mental retardation. I thought I was going to see a lot of mental retardation, a lot of people without the intellectual capacity for biological reasons to survive without help. And that's not what I saw. A top 5 that I would recommend? Yeah, I haven't finished it, but Plotinus's Enneads, for sure. Summa Theologica by Thomas Aquinas, for sure. Those are going to take you your entire life to read. Um, Summa Theologica is going to take you forever to read, because it's going to require reading from great masters before him. Plotinus is my spiritual master. Plotinus brought me here. The Hermetic tradition, so you can call it the Hermetic library or the Hermetic tradition, but they also call it the Greek magical papyri, but specifically the Poimander or Poimandres or the Man Shepherd. Specifically read that, because if you read that and you know anything about quantum physics, you'll know that so did they. The Nag Hammadi library, definitely read the Nag Hammadi library. And then, having read all of that, because you'll have read Plato's Republic and the Nag Hammadi library, the Book of Job. Those are my top 5. A woman put me into this situation, Scott. But little does she know that was the result that I had been betting on when I accepted her help in the first place. I knew that she was going to let my cats die and kick me out. And so I did my best to find work, to make work for myself that I could do from homelessness. I spent 4 years in preparation. Here I am. Oh, you could scroll back, but the Summa Theologica of Thomas Aquinas, Plotinus, his Enneads. I haven't finished either of those, by the way. Like I said, those are going to take you your whole life. Just cross-referencing the Summa Theologica. Just anytime he says, and we hold this to be self-evident, going, okay, why? That's going to take you years. Those books will take you decades. And then the Greek magical papyri, specifically the Poimander, the Nag Hammadi library, which is also known as the Gnostic Bible. You can find that on Amazon as the Gnostic Bible, the Nag Hammadi library. Cheap, like $30, cheap, and a good translation. That they did a really fucking good job with that translation. I would just recommend buying the Gnostic Gospel or the Gnostic Bible, just to give them the money for the work they did. They did such amazing work on that publication, getting it in English and making it practicable. I practiced it for half a decade. No, I didn't go to college. And no, I didn't just soak up my hands from whatever. I did do a lot of soaking my hands up from whatever I could, but I've spent the last decade I spent the last decade reading and listening to, rather, great courses, lecture series on the subject matter that I want to know, and then just reading. Once you learn how to do epistemology, once you know how to do literary criticism properly, and once you know how to do um, once you know how to do critical thinking properly, and you apply it to everything that you do, you can go back and read these source texts. That's hard for me to say. You can go back and read the source texts and argue with what you've been taught, right? You can say, well, I don't know if I agree with what you say Plato says and what you say he means right here. And then you're doing what they were doing, right? Well, maybe, Dave. At least I don't look like even gayer the workout guy from the 80s. Yeah, I'm an autodidact, for sure. And I'm an audio learner. I soak up, I remember things that I hear. And I'm doing great. Good morning, Jim. And hello, Luna. I made a short advocating for this today. I don't just when people say, well, the way to live is to do A, I don't just go, well, is that true? And interview a bunch of people. I just do it. Well, if that's true, then if I do it, then I'll get the result that they predict. But that's science. And that's why I say Summa Theologica, because Summa Theologica was setting the groundwork for the scientific method. Not for you, Major. I wouldn't recommend that you live in a tent. You'll die. You'll be in the hospital every other week. No, you're not. Dude, you're unprepared to go without your mom making your lunch this morning. You're unprepared to not have an emotional meltdown when your mom puts the wrong flavor of pudding in your lunchbox. Your fucking He-Man Master of the Universe tin. Sit the fuck down before I slap you in the face with my dick. I like your spiral, hot dabs. I'm not by a river, no. I am by a creek, though, and when it rains, you can hear it. Sometimes I lash out. We'll be all right. We just keep it moving. I do not identify as homeless, and I'm not camping. I'm smoking Geek Bar. It's Orange for Cucking Fab is what it's called. And it froze, so it's like almost entirely nicotine now. Did it to myself. I need to trim up the back. I know. All of you girls who like that rebel look from the 70s are just going absolutely ape shit for this. Yeah, it's Delta 8. I make my own fun, Chris. I'm a different kind of person than you. And I remember you. I asked you if you were the Chris Tucker. And yeah, I do have to worry about people messing with my stuff. I identify as from North Carolina, but I'm in Ohio. Do I do any readings on psychology or neuroscience? I have before, yeah. I know a lot about psychology and neuroscience. I've been reading the literature as it's published, and I can get my hands on it. And then again, great courses, lecture works, great courses, lectures. I could use a shower. You need corrective surgeries. Hello, Arfoten. What's my journey? This. I'm a stop and remark on the craftsmanship of the road kind of guy. I'm sure there's Muskingum College around if I wanted to do that. Well, I don't look pale. And young is the worst. I can suck my own dick. Hall Slayer. Yeah. I've always wanted to sit in. I just don't have, I've never had the guts to ask if I could, or just do it. Just go someplace like that. Heard that, Jim. Sure, I don't need a college certificate. If I'm on a journey, it's to get an honorary PhD for doing this. For sure, Chris. I'm just not that person. Hey, we made it to 2 hours. That's how long I wanted to do this. I'm not leaving on you guys yet. I wouldn't do that. No, if 20 of you still here. It was cold enough that my life was at risk a few times this winter. If you remember the weather, Ohio was cold this year. He was doing a callback, our Foten, and it was actually pretty funny. I thought it was pretty funny. It's getting warm in here. That's great news. It is supposed to be in the 70s. Hey, I'm fine, Reishi. Woke up hurting like a absolute motherfucker. Uh, is that is that Paradise? Paradise? Hello, to Belgium. We made a smoking a pancake and a bong and a waffle joke earlier this morning. Hopefully that doesn't have you upset at me. That was pretty funny. Oh, that was good. Hello, Savage Fox. Welcome back. You changed your PFP. You look more olive oil this one. It's not a negative. Olive oil was a beauty standard for a while, guys. It's just what French girls look like. Yeah, I look like I'm going to a job interview, don't I? Actually, I look like I'm going to a soda fountain in the 1950s, and I just got off my oil rig job. The problem is my girlfriend is probably 16 in that fantasy. So, problematic, any way you look at it. That's why we do let this look messy. No 16-year-old would let that fly. But a 33-year-old mother of two, she might. I'm doing all right, Savage. I'm being an idiot. Hey, you got to work. I think my mother quit around 30. I don't remember. No, yeah. What up, Silver Biker? What up, Brandon? Heard that, Savage. Taking the population crisis into your own hands isn't what you're doing. No, Savage, I'm not. But thank you for the offer. I'm doing fine, Silver. Yeah, sure, I'm camping, guys. I'm camping. Let's just go with that. Oh, you said I'm also. I thought you asked me if I was looking for a job. I'm not looking for a job. I hope you find work. I hope you find work that suits your skill sets and your temperament, and that the team with which you are engaged is appropriate to both your skill set and your temperament. I do not have a job, Silver. You wore your black dress today? Oh, I see. You're responding to things that I said to you that I forgot I said. Heard that, Savage Fox. The black dress? How bad did you want that job? Heard that, Reefer. If that's how you feel, Silver. Yeah, he'll kill me eventually, Brandon. Understood, Savage. No boosts. Selling software? Oh, you have a job selling software. Heard that. Thanks for sharing. Now I know that. You gotta go home tomorrow? Heard that. No bears, no coyotes. They don't live in the region. Thank you, Brandon. No, thank you, Reefer. Heard that, Savage. No bears. I'm in Ohio. It's over. I'm not far enough north for bears. Yeah, I made a joke about your name. I would never forget a Savage Fox. You're in Virginia? Heard that. I don't think Ohio. I think that's West Virginia, isn't it? Or maybe it's New Hampshire? Maine? It's not Ohio. Ohio is the birthplace of flight. Illinois? Ah, heard you. Heard that, Chris Tucker. I lived in Dayton when they were big. I hated that fucking band. The Department of Mass Violence. Morning, Michael. What's up? Do people call you logs? It would be hard for me not to call you logs, Michael. The week's been fine, Brandon. I thought it was a true story. I didn't get it. Heard that, Silver. I appreciate that, man. You're a log cutter? Yeah. It would be hard, man. And not even because I don't like it. I just do that. I think it's clever, and so I'm just going to do it until you punch me in the head. You live in Oklahoma? Or do you actually saw logs? God is good. God is great. I'm not making fun of you in any way, Michael, but I am laughing very hard on the inside. Start crying. I like you a great deal. Yeah, me too. Oh, that's wonderful. The tent's tiny. Yeah, it's just a backpacking tent. I prefer Jinkies. Keeping the peace for sure. Keeping my energy low so I don't on theology? Well, theology, I don't know that I can have thoughts like any articulate thoughts. I've read some of Theologica, and I largely agree with Thomas Aquinas. Oh, my teeth are crazy. Okay, take care. Enjoy your time, Silver. Is it Women's Day? Heard that. Yeah. Vampires come in many forms, Savage. Yeah, it is what it is, Mark. Your husband's a vampire? Well, I'm not a professional counselor. No, I'm not trail hiking. Excuse me. Blood pressure's low. He's nuts. Comes with the territory. No, I need salt, actually. I'm gonna get something to eat here once the chat slows down. Once my traffic slows down, I'm gonna go get something to eat. I will. Damn. Building. I don't think that it's possible to have a relationship with the creation of the universe. No. But I do believe that it is possible to have a relationship with the mind in which the universe resides. Um, and yeah, we are subject to that thing when we're no longer alive. And that thing is an active editor, and so it might get involved in our day-to-day lives if we had some role that it wanted us to play in this timeline, and we're being actively rebellious against that, a la Job or a la Jonah. But not all of us were called to have that relationship with that mind in this lifetime. right? This moment. And so everything after that is agency. I get along with everyone, Savage, but that doesn't mean that I would enjoy the experience. You go along to get along. I can go along with anyone for a little while, but that doesn't mean that it won't put me off course from where I want to be. I eat at a local chain called Pizza Cottage. We have so much in common. No coffee for this guy. I'm glad you have coffee, though. I'm sure it's a big part of your day. It's gonna happen, Connor. You'll be all right. I promise you, you will survive my habits. Yeah, for sure. It's not better. Vaping's actually worse for you than the cigarettes as far as short-term use. But yeah, if you're trying to ramp down your nicotine, it can help. Because a full cigarette is a lot of nicotine, and if you're just trying to get rid of a craving quickly, you don't need a full cigarette, and you don't need to stink for a half hour after. Yeah, that's probably because your blood pressure's too low. Epic Labs. I don't really know. Heard that, Scott. I guess it's just about the woman. And about the boundaries that you establish and enforce within your relationship with that woman. If you can't handle her chaos and she can't keep her chaos separate from your relationship, then she's just sex for you. And the degree to which you can be honest with her about that speaks to your character as an adult man. I don't have an iPhone. No, I don't want to be a gangster. No, I'm not in the mountains. There are no mountains in Ohio. Ohio is a largely glacier plain. Glacial. It is chaos. Girls are raised with their dads and their moms managing their lives, but they think that they're in control because their dads and their moms are good stage managers. And so they hit adulthood and they think that the things they've seen on TV and the internet are real life. And so their lives are just total fucking chaos. Tell you about people who enjoy doing malice to others who are vulnerable. So psychopaths and predators in general, Tommy. It's just to figure out life from that same period. People learn to prey on the weak and the vulnerable in public school. Well, just in school environments. Well, you don't have to enjoy it, and you don't have to understand or like that they do it. It's just I'm sure there are things that you enjoy doing, like maybe you're an eggs and ketchup guy. Well, predators prey on the vulnerable. Like a wolf, a pack of wolves isn't going to attack the healthiest and most robust, biggest, strongest deer. They're going to attack the one most vulnerable and least likely to defend itself and hurt them in the process. Well, usually that's untrue, Tommy. Usually the pleasure of doing it is the secondary or maybe even a tertiary motive. I do think individuals have ultimate purpose. Yes, building. Well, then what you got to do is you got to stop making yourself so vulnerable, Savage. I'm in Ohio, Styler. Penguin? I heard that, Rachie. I'm not even wearing pants. This ain't nothing about penguining right now. No hogs, no. Well, you gotta put on your armor, girl. Gotta defend yourself. Gotta do your push-ups. No, I'm not wearing pants. I have this devastating and horrific pelvic injury that I'm trying not to compress anymore now that the winter is over. I'm trying to undo some of the damage that the winter did to my body. The greatest way to discover that purpose, in my opinion, is to just get out there and do purposeful actions. Live with purpose. I think about it like Thomas Edison, right? So the new thing right now is to just throw away Thomas Edison on Toto and fine, do whatever you want. But Thomas Edison did arrive at the light bulb, and you do know what a light bulb is when you turn it on, and you do know the iconography of a light bulb being an idea. And so Thomas Edison had this light bulb in his mind. He had this idea for the light bulb, but he couldn't get it to turn on and stay on. And so he has this thing that he said, where he said something to the effect of, I didn't figure out how to make a light bulb work. I figured out 999 ways to make a light bulb fail. And so I'd say if you want to discover your purpose, go figure out what it's not. What were they called? They were called Freakonomics. There was this podcast, Freakonomics. They probably still exist, but about a decade ago, around the time, no, more than a decade now, around the time of the NFL lockout, 2011, 2012, 2010, whenever that was, they did a podcast advocating for quitting. They called it something like why quitting is a good idea or something like that. Sometimes quitting is the right thing to do. Because if you're doing something that you're not temperamentally suited for, but you might be good at it, it might not be what you're good at, actually. It might not be what your purpose actually is. You might just be doing it for the income. You might just be doing it because your parents want you to do it. Well, why would it be vain to leave a legacy? We're all biological creatures. We're all expected to have children. Maybe, Tommy, but hurting your child remains, the pleasure of hurting the child remains probably secondary to the goal of upsetting you in some way. Yeah, the pleasure was probably still secondary. There was probably a goal to which you're just never going to be privy to which you're never going to be privy, and it's probably better that way. It's kind of like, we don't really play video games solely for the pleasure of playing video games. If that were the case, there'd only be one video game. But you are insignificant, building, in the vastness of it all. A legacy is about how many people consider you significant. And then significant for what? Because significance is just what people write about you. That sign there, It just means that people are willing to write a sign outside your grave or oriented toward your grave so people will go in pilgrimage toward it. That's all that significance is. Maybe. I don't know the specifics, Tommy. I'm not a I'm not a therapist. I don't know. Maybe. But maybe the only way that you're going to understand is by having a child and reliving who you were before you were a thinking and questioning being by watching that child develop and ask the questions that you didn't know didn't have answers. Because your dog's stupid and smells like butthole, Jason. It's just like you. I've never heard of that game, Scott. I'm glad you're enjoying it. So I've been talking to this guy. He's my dad. Okay, so you were talking to your dad. Make me. All right, then do it, building. Start with yourself. Make a positive impact on yourself. How can you do that today? You are a part of humanity. You might be 1/8 billionth of humanity, but how can you make a 1% increase in your well-being today? Jason's Kate's is like Ruth's Chris. If you're out there, that one was just and only for you, Rach. I think so too, building a home. I think so too. And so how can you take how we've made your day better and how can you give it to somebody else for free? You don't have to answer the question. The question isn't purely rhetorical in that I don't want an answer, but it is purely rhetorical in that I'm using it as a rhetorical device to get you to think in a different way than you were thinking before you came to talk to me. Yeah, meds are never the answer. Therapy can be the answer. Chain names are the worst? I don't know about that. Yeah, paying it forward. So like if it's true, I don't know whether it's true, but if it's true that we're in a good mood when we're well fed and we're not nutrient deficient, and you find yourself well fed and not nutrient deficient, and you're talking to somebody, what if your good mood bolsters their desire to be in a good mood? And then when you talk to them and they ask you, why are you always in a good mood? And you say, well, my gut biome is always regulated and I get good sleep. And they go, well, what if I tried regulating my gut biome and getting good sleep? And then when somebody asks them, why are you always in a good mood? And they go, oh, this guy told me that if I regulate my gut biome and I get good sleep, I'd be in a good mood all the time. No, my name is Vincent. Um, you've made a positive impact on the world. Maybe. She might not want to be touched by a stranger, though. I would ask her what she wants. I would just ask her what she wants, what she feels, what she thinks would be good for her. Because she's going to have to manage this for the rest of her life. And so if you're there for the journey and you're not managing it, the journey, you're just there with her as a supervisor. Yeah, it's my pleasure, Building. That's what I come on here to do. I don't know what to call you, Silva, so hi. Is that Xavier? Hello, Xavier. I've been on the internet a long time. I gave up on myself too quick on that one. Sure. So far, so good, Xavier. Dealing with pain, but you know. A large part of it is sucking on this water all day without any salt in my diet. But I am going to have to end this eventually. Hey, be well, Building. Just remember, I'm not always nice and I'm not always talking directly to you when I use the word you. Yeah, you struggled with depression a few years ago, Xavier? Yeah, I broadcast every day, Tommy. I don't always broadcast from the tent, but I'm every day I'm live. At some point during the day. Yeah? Depression isn't really like the cold, though. It's not really something that you have. Your stepdad disowned you? This is beginning to feel like not a real story. For sure, Tommy. That's why I don't mind just sitting here in the silence. Just soaking up the sunbeam, listening to the birds chirp. I'm not camping. No, Bob. Yep. Pretty soon I'm going to have to bitch at the restaurants in town that they don't have their umbrellas out so I can enjoy the sun again this summer. Spring and summer. I'm going to walk into Pizza Cottage and I'm going to have to give Melissa that look. Like, girl. Can't sit at that fucking round table anymore either. Yeeted my fucking burger out into space. I still don't know how that happened. Your stepdad? Xavier? This sounds like a third world problem, man. Right, but stepdad. This doesn't sound real. Uh, spots? Yeah. I don't know about favorite. I'm in Ohio. Yep. This is a third world problem for real. I'm not making fun of you. Um, I'm just having trouble relating. Agreed, Scott. Never heard whales singing, but you know. Yeah, it's a Muslim problem. I'm always lonely. I'm the Hulk of loneliness. In fact, I'm starting to feel like it's time to get something to eat. What am I doing right now, Arcadia? Hello, Alexis. Nailed it, Arcadia. Staying busy. Is that Alex is Whinies? Alex is wine? Yes. Alexis? Wine? Yes. A mystic is somebody who engages with the terror of history. You're welcome. No, I'm not a vegan. And if you're a vegan, fuck off. R.I.P. Thick 44. Lost but not forgotten. Not all who Wyvern King are lost. But Thick was. Hello, Aries. What up? That's nice. All right, dudes. we're approaching that time where the show is over. We're just gonna get the people who put something negative in the chat. Thank you for hanging out with me, future. Yeah, there it is. Future audience, thank you for being here. Thank you for putting up with these. These shows from the tent, I never monetize. I never throw ads back on them. So these you can watch without interruption. Maybe I will someday, but for now they don't get that many. They don't get that many rewatches, and I'm just happy to do it. So thank you for being here. I'm going to take off. I'm going to get something to eat. I'm probably going to end up entertaining the believer tier on Patreon for a few minutes. And then I'm going to put on pants. Yeah, I'm going to have a good lunch. I'm going to have a good breakfast. And I'm going to have a good dinner. So, yeah. My believer tier makes sure that I get 3 meals a day. Oh, because it keeps a smile on my stupid face, and after I've had my cookie while I'm playing one of these idiot games, I start to say real stupid shit because I'm still a child, and sugar still does that to me. So, thank you very much. You guys have a great day, and like I always say, if you can find it in your hearts and you want to sustain the channel so that I can bet on my future, that's what the memberships are for. Thank you. We got a new member today, and I need to remember your names. I recognize your PFPs first. Tommy, Destiny. I need to remember that. Thank you for your membership. I hope to see you for months to come. And the Patreon sustains my livelihood, and all donations, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, those allow me to bet on my present. They allow me to eat. They allow me to invest in the business of being Shaggy. So thank you guys. You have a great one too. 3Fs. Thank you for hanging out with me for so long. Be well. You'll see me later. I'm going to be playing Final Fantasy VII in Panera in just a couple of hours. Take care.